Hello, everyone. Thank you for showing up today for our Metta Hour. It's so nice to be with you. Today, well, actually, over the last few days, we've been discussing and practicing different uh, wholesome states. We looked at metta and karuna, loving kindness and compassion. And these states of mind, they really support our practice, especially while we're on retreat, while we're doing intensive practice. That these wholesome states of mind, they gladden our heart and they create space in which to be with perhaps difficult people, difficult experiences with gentleness. So we are going to go through the other two Brahma Viharas, equanimity and mudita, or joy. But before we do that, I wanted to include and talk today more about a wholesome state of mind that is related to compassion and related to metta, but is related to those two, but it's a little different. I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to share our practice of forgiveness with you. And I think it's really appropriate at this time too to practice forgiveness because while we're in retreat, our mind is becoming more and more still. We are letting go of the world around us. We're drawing within our own heart together as a community. And as our mind becomes more tranquil, we begin to feel, our heart mind begins to feel more safe. We're letting go of the hindrances that disturb our mind. And as we are letting go and we're tuning into this contentment of letting go and grounding into our body, our heart begins to open because it feels safe. It feels safe to relax, and we are building trust into our system. This is the skillfulness of MIDL. This is the skillfulness of Sama Samadhi, where we build this trust through showing and teaching the mind that it's safe and okay to let go. And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to befriend our mind, to create trust and safety in our heart and in our body. It's a great gift that we're giving ourselves on a retreat to create this sense of safety so that we can open to deeper states of calm and peace than maybe we've accessed before or that we can access in daily life without as much practice. And we have in our life, developed friendships with people. We know the process of creating friendships in our life. And what we find when we befriend ourselves is a very similar process. As we build more trust with ourself, our heart begins to show us things that perhaps it was ashamed or afraid to see before because it didn't feel safe enough to be able to share it with us. We knew perhaps that there were things that we were ashamed of or things that we regret, memories of past uh, unskillful actions, perhaps memories of things that have happened to us. We know that they have happened to us. We know they're in our mind. They happen to us. But it's so, in order to feel safe in the past, it's very common for us to ignore those experiences or to turn away from them, to shut them out as a way of saying, okay, I'm not dealing with this. I need to feel a sense of security and safety. But with more tranquility, with more relaxation and calm, these things are starting to come forward very, very commonly on retreat. It doesn't happen to everyone, of course, but it's really common. It's really common and very normal for these difficult memories and these difficult experiences to pop up in our practice. And sometimes it's like we think that we did something wrong for it to pop up, right? We're like, no, I was just getting calm. It was, what happened? I was so close to really deep concentration. What happened? All of a sudden, I'm remembering these things from the past. What did I do? But it's nothing that you did wrong. In fact, it's a good sign. It's a good thing because it's showing it's an opportunity, right? In MIDL, we see these things as opportunities, and it's showing us that we are, in fact, befriending ourselves. We're developing this trust and the sense of safety so that we can share and acknowledge deeper truths with our own self, with our own heart, that we haven't felt safe enough to share before. And, when we're making external friends, uh, when we earn the trust of other people in our life, or maybe of people that you work with, or if you have children or you work with children, when you create that sense of safety, they come to you with their problems. I'm a school teacher in public schools in Baltimore City, and I love working with kids. It's so joyful. It's so wonderful. I'm so grateful to be a teacher, to have that privilege, to have that honor working with young people. And that sense of safety is really important to me in my classroom. So important. Because it's only when kids are safe, when we're safe, that's when we learn. That's when people can really show up and be themselves. And I'm not surprised when, some of my students are saying, hey, I want to talk about certain things that are difficult, because it shows that they are trusting of me. And so, in those situations when either other people come speak to us and want to share their difficulties with us, as, uh, as a good friend or as a trusting person in their life, we hold space for them, non-judgmentally. We show up with them and we hold that space for them to acknowledge what is on their mind or what's troubling them. And we can do that for ourselves too. We're befriending our mind. We're being a good friend to our own heart and our own mind. And so this is what we're called to do in the practice when and if these difficult memories resurface. And again, it's a good sign. It shows that our heart is feeling safe and that we are ready through our practice of grounding and calming our heart and mind. It shows that we are ready to turn towards these things that perhaps were difficult. And so a few of us, actually, a few people in the interviews and in my conversations with you all have said that this is happening. So I was like, okay, perfect. This is a great opportunity to talk about forgiveness practice. So forgiveness practice is an aspect of compassion practice, an aspect of the Brahma Viharas, because we are being present with our heart. We're being open-hearted with what shows up. And in this practice of forgiveness, what we're going to do is we are going to, acknowledge what comes up, the difficulty that comes up, the memories of the past. If they're present, we acknowledge them. We don't turn them away. We're a good friend. We don't turn them away. We don't ignore them. And we acknowledge the pain and the hurt that was caused, either to us or by us. And usually that's why we don't want to acknowledge those things, because it's painful. It's painful to acknowledge what harm we have done or what harm has done to us. So this is an aspect of compassion, right? We're being with the suffering of the pain from what has happened. And in forgiveness practice, we're not saying that this was a good thing that it happened, or that it's okay that it happened. We're not saying that we have to love the fact that someone hurt us or that we hurt someone else. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is, in forgiveness, we're letting go of the aversion to the fact that it did happen. So forgiveness is saying, okay, this did happen. I don't have a choice over the fact that I did this unskillful action or that someone did it to me. It's already happened. It's already happened. I can't undo what happened. It doesn't make it okay, but it is a fact that it did happen. So we acknowledge the past, but what we're doing in forgiveness is we're learning to let go of the resentment, of the blame, of the anger that we have held in relationship to this memory. And they've done a lot of research around memory and around how the body mind remembers certain things. And basically, I know very little about it, but what I do know is that every time we are remembering something from the past, it's like it's like an experience of the past, but we're experiencing it in the present. So we get to experience this in the present, and we get to, through the forgiveness practice, we get to create a new relationship to what has happened. And this can actually, when we link the painful memory with this forgiveness practice, we are overwriting that memory. In the sense, we're creating a new memory in relationship to what has happened. So every time after we practice the forgiveness practice, and through practicing it, in the future, when this memory comes up, it will still come up, right? We'll still, yeah, that happened to me, or yeah, I did that. But we'll have a new relationship to it in the future when we remember it. We're going to remember it with acknowledgement and with a sense of forgiveness and a sense of understanding and compassion. So we're basically rewriting this memory to develop a new relationship with it, so that we can let go of the suffering that has been associated with it for so long. Right? It's not even really the memory, the fact of what has happened. It's our relationship to what has happened that is causing us suffering. And that's why I love the Dhamma. I love MIDL, because it's constantly showing us the Four Noble Truths in terms of relationship. Showing, okay, is our relationship to what's arising, is it akusala? Is it unwholesome? Or is it kusala, unwholesome? Right? Is our relationship to this past memory, is it anger, resentment, shame? We can do that, but it will create suffering through that unwise, unskillful relationship. We can learn how to feel and acknowledge the pain of that, but begin to relax and let that go and develop new relationship that is wholesome through compassion and forgiveness. So it's very, very skillful, and we're not forgetting or erasing the past. We still remember it. We still acknowledge it. We're still based in reality, but we're just developing a wiser, kinder relationship so that we can let go of the suffering. So, and this is beautiful because a mind of forgiveness is a mind that dwells in the present. Resentment and anger towards resentment is a mind as an unwholesome mind that dwells in the past. And when we have minds of resentment towards things that we've done or done in the past, it just pulls and drags us away from the present moment. It pulls us back, and it can recreate that suffering over and over again by pulling us into the past, dragging that past into the present moment. Okay. So we don't have to do that. We can become more wise and more skillful through developing forgiveness. And I heard this quote a long time ago that I wanted to share with you because I love it. It's by Alden Nolan, and he says, around forgiveness, this quote, he says, "The day the child realizes that all adults are imperfect, he becomes an adolescent or a teenager. The day he forgives them, he becomes an adult. And the day he forgives himself, he becomes wise." And I love that quote because it shows us this process of growing up through forgiveness that we do in our life. As a kid, we expect, we demand that adults be perfect, that they don't make mistakes. If you have children or you were a child, you might recognize this, right? This idea like, oh, adults aren't allowed to make mistakes. But when we realize that everyone makes mistakes, every person makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. We we can become a teenager or like an adolescent. But then when we learn to forgive them, we realize that we too, when we learn to forgive them, we become an adult. We become more mature. And the hardest part is when we forgive ourselves. So many, in my own experience, this is true, and in many people that I talk to, this is true, that we can be so hard on ourselves. We can hold ourselves to such high standards and just really, be so tough that we can forgive other people, but we can't forgive ourselves. We are remembering past mistakes that we did, or we're the first ones to comment on our mistakes. And of course, this is a defense mechanism so that we can try to prevent making mistakes in the future, so we can be safe, so we can survive. But it's at a cost, right? So when we learn how to forgive even ourselves, we become wise. So this is what the practice is asking us to do. And when we acknowledge, we start with people who are easier to forgive, right? We start with kids. Usually kids are still learning, so it's easy to forgive them. We give them grace. And then people we love. Oh, okay, well, I love you. It's easier to forgive you because I love you. Because we have that metta. We already have that metta. But sometimes it's hard to forgive ourselves. And we can recognize that. I think it was Krister that you said earlier in your metta talk. It's still resonating in my heart because it's so beautiful. You said that you acknowledge and you believe that every single person on this retreat is doing their best. And I really connected with that because it's true. Every single one of us, every single person, every single adult, every single kid in this retreat and the people that we meet around us, We're all just doing our best. We're doing the best with what we have. We're trying to make the best out of the situation with the cards that we have been dealt. We're really just trying our best to be happy. And of course, sometimes we fall short because we're human, we make mistakes. So we can acknowledge that for ourselves when we make mistakes, that we were just trying to do our best. When we remember the things that we have done that were unskillful, we can give ourselves a little bit of grace. Not saying what we did was right or that we didn't cause harm, but we were trying. We are trying. So, in this practice, what we're going to do, I want to share you may have heard it before, but I really love this practice. It's an ancient indigenous Hawaiian practice, and it's called a Ponopono practice. It's a type of forgiveness practice, and I like the structure of it. In this practice of Ho'oponopono, we practice creating a new dialogue with this person or with this memory, with ourself when we recall the mistake or cause the harm that was remembered. And we start off with metta. We start off by saying, I love you. So in this meditation, we'll bring to mind either ourself or someone that perhaps we've had challenges with. We can bring the sense of I love you to the front. This feeling of metta, I wish for you to be happy. And then depending on, we can do it in both ways. We can do it depending if they were the ones who hurt us or we hurt them. If we were the ones who hurt them, we can say, I'm sorry. We sit with that feeling of, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry for my unskillful actions. I regret. I'm sorry. So we're giving ourselves a space to feel that unpleasant feeling of the regret, acknowledging what we did was not helpful. And then we ask that person for forgiveness. We can say, please forgive me. It's a request. It's an open-heartedness of asking, please show me mercy. Please, I am sorry. Please forgive me. And then we can imagine that the person is giving it to us or that we are giving it to them. Imagine saying, okay, I forgive you. So it is a little bit of this practice of we're imagining, we're acting out the practice. And then the last step of the Ho'oponopono is to develop gratitude, to say thank you. Thank you for your forgiveness. I feel grateful. I'm honored and I'm grateful for this forgiveness because it is a gift. Forgiveness is a gift that we give to one another out of love, recognizing that we are all not perfect and that we are worthy and lovable and we are worthy of forgiveness. So, when we do this practice, just like in the other metta practices, I think it's easier to start with people who are easy to forgive, right? Like, I don't know if anyone has a pet, like a cat, or any pet. If your little furry loved one, you're like playing with them and they scratch you, and you're like, oh no, that hurt, right? How quickly do you forgive them? It's like pretty quickly, right? Pretty instantaneously. It's like, oh, it's okay. Because I love you. It's okay. So what we'll start with beings that are easier to forgive, and then we can work towards, and then we can bring to mind maybe someone who we love that we've had conflicts with. We can bring forth a neutral person, and then we can do perhaps a challenging person. in this practice of forgiveness, we want to be really gentle with ourselves. There's like a big disclaimer asterisk on this practice, right? We want to be, oh, wait, okay, I'll get to that question, Paula. Thank you. We want to be like really, really like mindful of this practice because what if when these past unpleasant experiences and memories come up to our mind, we want to stay grounded in our body and we want to stay grounded in the present moment. We want to have that space and we want to go at our own pace. It's very easy, if a difficult memory comes up, especially if we're very deeply concentrated, right, for it to just feel like it's overwhelming us and overtaking us, and it can be it can scare the mind, it can scare the heart, and it can create, if we go into the unpleasantness and we go into it with aversion and fear, it can create more harm to ourselves. So we don't want to harm ourselves. This is a metta practice for ourselves. So we want to go really slowly and really gently. We can use our breath, our softening breaths, to decondition and to relax the sense of anger and aversion and resentment. And if we feel that it's becoming too much, we can back off. It's really important to recognize that we're not pushing ourselves, we're not forcing ourselves, and we're not like backing ourselves into a corner. We are working with our own pace. So if we notice that, just be really kind and gentle with yourself and say, okay, this is a little too challenging. That's okay. It's okay. We'll come back to that. Start with something a little bit easier. And someone asked a question in the chat, are the phrases the same if we're going to forgive another? Yeah, they are. So in the Ho'oponopono practice, if we're going to forgive, so let's say we recognize someone has done something to us that we haven't forgiven them for, and we have that resentment, we can do the same phrases. We say, I love you. We can imagine that they are saying sorry to us. We could potentially say, I'm sorry to them, if we recognize that that aversion and that resentment has hurt our relationship, because it probably has, let's say, for example, we remember something that our parent did to us that was unskillful, and we've held resentment. It's very likely that maybe we've acted out that resentment, or that resentment has made us say or do things that we regret too. So we can imagine that that they are saying sorry to us, I'm sorry, or we can also say I'm sorry to them if we feel that we'd like to say that. But maybe we just focus on that. We imagine that they are saying sorry to us. I think this is helpful. And we can imagine that they are saying, please forgive me. In that process, when they ask us, we have this opportunity to let go of the resentment by offering them the gift of forgiveness. And we can give them the forgiveness. When we give them the forgiveness, or we give ourselves the forgiveness, notice the release. Notice the pleasure and the contentment of that letting go of the resentment, of the pleasantness of the forgiveness. Notice the kusala of the forgiveness. Notice the openness and the tenderness of that forgiveness. And then you can imagine that they are saying thank you to you for that forgiveness. And this is how we can heal our own heart. These are our memories. So even if that person, maybe you're not in relationship with them anymore, or maybe they're no longer with us, maybe they've passed away, you can still use these phrases towards them because you're healing your heart. You're not the imagining that they're asking for forgiveness, it's a way to heal your heart. And additionally, it's very likely because every living being feels the pain of unwholesomeness, whether or not they acknowledge it. We can recognize that that person is or was suffering when they were harming us. So for them to, and we can recognize that if they were to really deeply, mindfully, introspectively feel and see the consequences of their action, they likely would want forgiveness, or they likely would feel regretful. So it's a little bit of it is a practice where we're creating a dialogue with this person or with ourself, asking for this forgiveness. So we say, I love you, or we imagine, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And we will talk later about gratitude practice, because that is what the thank you is for. We're grateful. Um, and, we can, if you feel gratitude towards that person also, because like what we were talking about yesterday, sometimes the things that cause us suffering, it's really difficult when we're going through it, but when we're on the other side of it, we can recognize that that might have been a blessing for us, like especially when we transform this relationship to it. So, we can, through forgiveness practice, develop gratitude even towards the actions of people who have harmed us. It's really paradoxical, and we don't want to force that per se, but it will be a natural expression of letting go, where we begin to be grateful for everything. We begin to be grateful for everything, partly recognizing that everyone was doing their best, and that this we had the opportunity to learn and really develop our hearts through that experience. It might not have been pleasant, it might not have been what we asked for, but we become wiser and more compassionate, and we develop this opportunity to develop forgiveness through that. So maybe you would also like to say thank you to that person who harmed you, potentially. So, so we will do the practice, and we can also do chanting at the end for the last 5 minutes. And I just want to also share one more quote that I really liked around this forgiveness practice, and it's this idea that when we have anger or resentment, we think that if we give it up, we'll be losing something. We'll be losing maybe the story of ourselves, or we'll be losing how we can protect ourselves. But this great activist, Asada Shakur, she says, when we fight for our freedom, when we pursue our freedom of forgiveness, especially in this context, the only thing that we have to lose is, in fact, the chains that bind us to the suffering. So this resentment, this anger, they are chains. They are chains. They chain us to the past. They harm us. So in this practice of forgiveness, we're freeing ourselves from the bondage of this anger and this resentment of this, and creating a new relationship. And we're asking a lot, so go slowly. And I also wanted to share this book, this little short story from this book called The First Free Women. It's a collection of poems from some of the nuns that were in the Sangha that were practicing during the time of the Buddha. And I love it because the Buddha did have nuns in his company. He did ordain nuns and women. He had women in his company of Sangha. And they did attain deep realizations, and they did attain the fruit of the path. And this book called The First Free Women, they're poems from these women. And I absolutely love it. It connects me with women from the path, with from an early perspective. And the poems themselves are just so beautiful. They really move the heart, and they're a great way to point to the beauty that is the path of awakening our heart and opening to forgiveness. And I just want to share one. There's a lot of them. I could probably share more than one, but I just want to share this one. And it's called Patachara's 30 Nuns, and it's short. It goes from oh, farmers take grain from the earth and branches from the trees. They crack open one with the other and take what's left to feed their families. You are all like unripe grain. Take time to grow. Then leave the ground behind and let your husks be stripped away. I promise less is more. So Patachara told us. So we sat on the ground like unripe grain. We gave ourselves to the path, and the path broke us apart. What we feared most is now seen for what it is. True peace, freedom. All that broke apart was the darkness we had for so long been calling our whole world. So this practice of forgiveness, we are allowing ourselves to break open. We're allowing ourselves to find the freedom of the forgiveness within. And at first it might seem scary, but we can open to it. We're only going to be losing our chains. We'll only be losing the darkness of our fear and resentment. Okay, so let's go ahead and find a comfortable seat. Okay, so I'll talk about that. So it's the same phrases. We forgive ourselves, right? We acknowledge, we go through the phrases. We say, I love you to ourselves. We recognize that we are sorry, that we hurt ourselves, that we were unskillful. We ask ourselves, please forgive me. And then we say, thank you. Thank you. And we allow ourselves to feel the forgiveness that we're giving to ourselves. So it's the same phrases. Okay, so allowing our eyes to close. Allowing our mindfulness to ground into our body. Becoming aware of the touch of our feet or legs against the floor. The weight of our hips in our seat or cushion. Feeling the gentle touch of our hands resting in each other or against our lap. And bringing to mind perhaps an easy being that may have hurt us in the past. We can already feel the sense of connection to this easy being. We can say, I love you. May you be happy. Allowing the metta to open our heart. If this easy being hurt us, we can imagine that they are saying, I'm sorry. If this easy being, if we hurt this easy being, this lovable being, we can say, I'm sorry to them. Feeling the wholesomeness of the truth that we are sorry or that they are sorry. With this easy being, it just naturally flows for us to forgive them or for them to forgive us. We ask, though, for their forgiveness. Please forgive me. Imagining if they hurt us, recognizing that they are asking for our forgiveness. And there's such a sincerity in this request. A humbleness. We can imagine that the forgiveness is given. If we are forgiving the other, noticing the openness of heart that is forgiveness. If we are receiving the forgiveness, feeling the warmth and the softening into the connection that we feel deepen with that being as we receive their forgiveness. Then we can express our gratitude, saying thank you. Thank you. Imagining that they say thank you. the gratitude for the repair in the relationship. And so, having done this with an easier being, we can try. I would invite you to do it with perhaps yourself next. So, perhaps bringing to mind, or maybe already coming to mind, is a recognition of a time when we were unskillful with ourselves. And we can start by saying, I love you to ourselves. May I be happy. And when we feel this regret from the past unskillfulness towards ourselves, we can apologize, saying, I'm sorry. Allowing our heart mind to really recognize and receive the sense of regret. If any difficult emotions come up, we can include them here with our regret, seeing that shame or guilt or anger, they're all trying to express this feeling of regret, a sense of saying, I'm sorry. With this regret, we can make a humble request to ourselves. Please forgive me. beginning to open to the possibility of forgiveness through humbly asking, may I forgive myself? And we can experiment and just try imagining that we do forgive ourselves. We give ourselves forgiveness, recognizing the authenticity and sincerity of this request, softening into our relationship with ourself through letting go of those painful emotions towards ourself. Softening into this metta for ourself and receiving it. Loving ourselves, forgiving ourselves in spite of our mistakes. And then we can express gratitude towards ourselves, saying thank you. Thank you for the courage to open your heart to yourself. With gratitude, we integrate the wisdom of what we learned through the mistake. Thank you. So when you're ready, you can begin to relax your attention, bringing it to the borders of your body. Feeling the echoes of the love, compassion, and forgiveness. Then when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. And we can say this metta chant together. I'll put the chant in the chat and pull it up. So in this chant, we're imagining the metta flowing to all beings, and we can also include forgiveness if we'd like, forgiving, extending the grace of forgiveness to all beings. So maybe you know the tune. You can sing along or hum along with me, with the mic's muted. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patiya Buddhang Pujami Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patiya Dhammang Pujami Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patiya Sanghang Pujami Ahang Awero Homi Abhyapajao Homi Anigo Homi Sukhiyatanang Pariharami Mama Mata Pitu Acharya Cha Nyati Mita Cha Sabramacharya no Cha Awera Hontu Abhyapaja Hontu Aniga Hontu Sukhiyatanang Pariharantu Imasming Arame Sabe Yogino Awera Hontu Abhyapaja Hontu Aniga Hontu Sukhiyatanang Pariharantu Amakang Araka Dewata Imasming Avare Imasming Awase Imasming Arame Araka Dewata Awera Hontu Abhyapaja Hontu Aniga Hontu Sukhiyatanang Pariharantu. Sabe sata, sabe pana, sabe buta, sabe pugala, sabe atabava, pariyapana, saba itio, sabe purisa, sabe iti purisa, sabe anita purisa, sabe ariya, sabe anariya, sabe dewa, sabe manusa, sabe winipatika, awedahontu, abhyapajahontu, anigahontu, sukiyatanang, pariharantu, dukkha muchantu, yatalada sampatito, maviganchantu, kamasaka, idang no punya bagang, sabba satanang, bajema. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May all beings be free. Thank you, everyone, for your practice today, practicing forgiveness. Just remembering to be gentle with ourselves. This is another tool in our tool belt if we notice difficult memories coming up, feelings of shame or judgment or guilt. So hopefully this will be helpful just to continue to soothe and open our heart on this retreat and in the future. So thank you. I appreciate your bravery today. Thank you.